throughout history, the most successful, wealthiest, influential men have always had multiple women in their lives. The key thing that guys need to understand is
entrepreneur and author of the Unplugged Alpha,
the entrepreneur in cars,
one of the most unapologetic voices in men's self-development, Richard Cooper.
I think both men and women want the other side to be more than what they're capable of. One of the big asks that women have of men is they want his full commitment, including sexual exclusivity. Because for them, stepping out on a relationship usually means the relationship's over.
If you're in your mid-30s, you want a trajectory where your career, social status, money is just, you're getting more and more of it.
Your focus needs to be on creating value for yourself. Find your purpose, make that the focus. Don't let women distract it from you, but indulge, make sure that you understand women, because that's why we're here. You have to know what you're dealing with, because you're really playing with fire when it comes to chicks. What really upsets women the most is...
What do you think the main things that can help a guy when it comes to dating?
So guys have to be mindful of this when they invite a woman into their life and how they're going to manage it.
Quick pause, guys. I need to tell you something. It's that time of the year where everyone's on the winter arc hype, where they're building their physique, which they plan to reveal at some point in the summer of 2026. But I hate to be the guy that says it. Most of you are going to end up getting fat. You'll be overeating. You'll be following some sort of a program which isn't actually going to be getting your results. You're going to be improvising on the spot, no doubt. You won't be tracking. There'll be no structure, just random exercises with minimal progress seen on a week-to-week basis. Pretty frustrating, right? Well, that's the whole reason why I built the Thirst app, to help busy people like yourself find a system they can actually stick to over a long period of time. We have thousands of transformations from men and women who just plug into the app and get the exact plan they need for their goals, show up to the gym, and just put in the work, all for less than an hour of their time. You get access to over hundreds of programs and hundreds of different meal plans, everything which you could possibly need to get yourself in shape. So if you actually want to stick to something and see results without taking things to the absolute extremities, click the link in the bio. Let's get on with the video. What's up, guys? Welcome back to First Things First. We have Richard Cooper in the building. For those that don't know, entrepreneurs in cars. Is that what you're more well known for?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm known for. And then we've got the podcast channel with the Unplugged Alpha on that.
Yeah. How's things? Everything good?
It's good, man. It's been a good week in Dubai. We just had a workout.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. It's an interesting place. First time here.
Yeah. What are the initial thoughts that you have?
Been asked that. What do you think? Are you going to come? Friends have been asking me to come here. I like it. I think I need to spend a good month here to really get a feel for the place. It's a concrete jungle, lots of glass and steel, but it's very clean. People are extremely polite.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic's a bit of a pain in the butt. Obviously, you live here.
Yeah.
Very interesting place. It's like a brand new city that just popped up in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. It's been a total transformation over the past 10, 15 years for sure.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's certainly worth looking at. And everybody that talks about the tax strategies here, it's like a no-brainer is what I keep hearing over and over again. So it's like, if that's really important, then prioritizing that, this would be the place to be, I think.
Yeah. You're still based in Canada?
I'm in Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. You like it there?
No. No. I was born in the UK, and then my family came to Canada when we were young, and Canada was a different place back then.
Mm-hmm.
It was a place with an identity, where Canadians actually had an identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed quite a bit. Mass immigration, very high taxes, horrible weather, wokeness, rainbows everywhere.
That's still a thing. I thought we'd passed that.
No, you're paying more than, I would say, 60% of the money that you make in taxes over a certain rate. I mean, if you do well, you're going to get taxed much higher there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying more than 60% of your income in taxes, and they're using that money to do things that, in my opinion, are nefarious, that aren't aligned with the kind of goals that I have.
Yeah.
But just on the high taxes and weather alone is reason to get out of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dying country, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
you still there?
I'm still there. I've got a kid that I've made a commitment to raise, put her into university, and I'm pretty close to that point now.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons for this trip was to come down here and sort of, explore this as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So I guess what you're known for best is helping men when it comes to dating, discussing the online dating scene.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on it at the moment?
Well, it's
is it getting worse and worse?
Yeah, it's a colossal train wreck. I mean, I would see myself more as a men's coach, and I help them sort of navigate life. But the thing that seems to be a real problem for guys over and over again is making horrible decisions with women, especially on a long-term basis. You know, for me, when I was younger, I never really had a hard time on the attraction side of things. It was just the retention side or having a good experience during the retention side. You know, it always seemed like things would just go sideways and the attraction would start to wane, or they would test you more, become more difficult, harder to live with, harder to be around. And I found that just more and more frustrating. As you kind of get through that enough times in your life, you decide at some point, for me anyway, like when I got divorced, was to make my wounds my work and to try to figure this out. And that's when I kind of went down this really deep rabbit hole. Some places were dark, some weren't. Read every Evo Psych book, every Evo Psych study, started paying attention to places like the manosphere and the dating coaches and all that. I don't consider myself a man from that space because I was a successful entrepreneur before I even got involved with what I do right now with creating content. But there's a lot to learn in life, and I really wish that I had known all of this when I was 20. So my position really is, let's have those conversations. A lot of it is just me, you know, with a camera in my car talking about these ideas, and I publish books and put out podcasts as well. But to help guys understand the nuances of life so they can get more of what they want out of life when it comes to women and money and success and that sort of stuff.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm making some of the content which I make today, and even with this podcast, just to really help that younger version of myself who's coming into the world and hasn't really been taught about life, really. You do the very basic things in school regarding education, which even that is questionable in itself, but no one really prepares you for life. And I think particularly a man, late teens, early 20s, even most of his 20s, it's difficult time because you don't really know who you are. You haven't got your career up and running. You're kind of getting new experiences when it comes to dating, and you haven't been taught how to properly navigate through that. You kind of have to just figure it out for yourself. And a lot of the time it's quite painful. And I've been in those situations before where I've come out of a relationship or I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And that's when I've come and watched a couple of your videos before where they've popped up, and I'm just trying to figure out like what is going on, because you're trying to do the things which you think are right, but it's not working.
Yeah, we were talking about in the gym before when we were lifting. It's, you know, I find that often the things that women want you to do, or sometimes they want you to stop doing, that behavior itself can actually be very good for her and the relationship and for you if you continue doing what it is that you were doing anyway. And, you know, I explain a lot of those nuances in this new book and also some of the content that I put out. But I think like you, what I found was that, you know, you're told do these things and you'll like do A plus B and you'll get C. And you really do like A plus B and you get like a stone, right? So you don't get the desired output. And when you start paying attention to what people say in life, and this just doesn't apply to women and relationships. I think broadly speaking, when you start paying attention to what people say versus the actual behavior, and there's a conflict between the two, you start paying more attention to behavior and less attention to what people are telling you. So that's a strategy that I think that can be used universally, not just for relationships, for business transactions, and for many other things too.
Yeah. In my earlier days, I think I definitely was a victim to being the nice guy.
Yeah, we all are.
Like just doing everything that I feel like I should be doing in a relationship, or that they would want, and being too available, too nice.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, that they would go cold, lose interest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hang on, I'm doing everything I thought I should be doing here, and they've lost the interest. Now, it might not be universal for every single woman. Like, I think there are still some good ones that would actually respond quite well to that, but unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to be the case a lot of the time.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was actually thinking about a moment. I had this wild flashback where I was picking up a date for a formal event, and I had met her family before. This was in my 20s, and she was all dressed up. She looked great. And I think one of her parents came up to me that kind of whispered in my ear, and they said, tell her she looks really good. Tell her that she looks beautiful. And that's their advice, you know, to a young man. And my natural inclination was not to say anything, just to admire the beauty, be with the beauty, and then spend the evening with her, sort of thing. So of course, you know, you pair it off. Oh, you look beautiful, baby, sort of thing. And, you know, that like small little things like this, I call them beta-tization through 1,000 concessions, you know, because you make these small concessions here and there. And that usually turns into things like, you know, when you live together and she says, well, don't brush your teeth over there. You're going to get toothpaste on the floor. Pick up your socks, or put the white socks in the white hamper and the dark socks in the dark hamper. You tend to do these things for women because you like them, or you love them, or you've fallen in love with them, and you want to make them happy. And why wouldn't you? Because you're a man and you've been told to do that. but it just doesn't pan out, the right way or the way that you expect it. And it's not that, you all of a sudden have to shift your behavior and just become a total asshole, but you have to lean into more of your asshole when it comes to long-term relationships if you want to get more of what you want out of them.
Mm-hmm. So almost like standing your ground a little bit.
You have to know how to put your foot down, stand your ground, and have a serious conversation about the way things are going to be. And oftentimes it's not always going to be a conversation. You're just going to keep doing what it is that you were doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fascinating topic, which I find is when in a relationship, if you want that relationship to flourish and continue in the long run, is it better to live together or not live together?
When I was younger, it was the live together story. Mm-hmm. But I think today, men and women can have a fantastic relationship. You can love a woman, you can have children with a woman and not live with her. Mm-hmm. Actually, in my book here, I talk about the 3 iddies. And the 3 iddies are proximity, familiarity, and exclusivity. And 2 of the iddies, which are familiarity and proximity, can be dealt with almost completely just by not living with a woman.
Yeah.
I think that when you get too close to somebody, and this happens with guys too, but not to the same degree, but I think that when you're too close to a woman, she gets very familiar with your behavior, your mannerisms, how you do certain things, the way, you may even put a supplement bottle in a certain cabinet. It may not be spun around the wrong way, or maybe you're touching certain things that she doesn't like. And then you get this like little buildup of things here and there. It's like these small indignities that sort of pile up that become a problem, which don't become problems when you're not living together. When you're dating, everything's great. You're in a honeymoon phase. Everybody's having a great time. And then at some point, usually one person says to the other, hey, wouldn't it be great if we lived together? We'd save so much money. We wouldn't have to travel to go to one another's places. I don't have to bring a bag of stuff over. And then that's usually when the guy's just like, okay, that'd be a good idea, baby. Yeah. Let's go and do that. And it's like, actually staying with what you were doing and continuing on the path that you were on. A lot of people get shocked. Get that shock when you say, you can love a woman, you can be in a relationship with her and not live with her.
Yeah.
You can have children with a woman and not even live with her either.
Yeah, because in recent years, I don't know if it's because I've now lived by myself for so long that I got used to it and I really like it. And I find it very difficult to see a scenario where it's improved if I am living with someone.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be somebody that I live with and it's just amazing. But
yeah. That's probably going to be a guy. That's probably going to be a dude.
Yeah, my brother or my best mate or something.
Right.
So I've obviously been dating. The conversation would come up and I would mention that. I'd be like, I think maybe you could probably work if we just didn't live together. And some of them would be very shocked and be like, well, this is not how I foresee it being.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a need for security and safety for women. And they know that their security and safety and their position in your life improves dramatically when they're more in your life. That's why they push to live together. That's why they often push for marriage. That's why they push for many things. And, they can work out. They're a little more difficult to manage. I often tell guys it's a lot more work to manage a long-term relationship, living with a woman, being married to a woman, or living in a way that looks like marriage to the government, if we can put it that way, than it is just to date casually. And for most guys, they lose the variety once they get to the commitment stage. That's one of the things that some guys don't understand too, is that commitment and sexual exclusivity can be separated as well too, right? That's kind of some advanced stuff that I talk about in this book as well. But
I want to go into that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Because I think one thing which a lot of women don't understand is that men just do tend to thrive on having that variety.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not in love with that person.
Yeah.
They just do, and I imagine will continue to do so long into the future, have this urge to have variety when it comes to having different sexual partners.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's one of those things that women can just fathom and understand. Like, but why would you think that way? Why would you want that when you have me? You should be exclusive to me.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're solipsistic, right? They have a hard time seeing past their own nose because the way they think is when they fall in love with somebody and they're with somebody and they've committed to somebody, that usually other men become invisible, right? Because women have a hypergamous nature, right? They always want to be with a giant. They want to be with somebody better. So, but they also come with a long laundry list of demands. He's got to be tall. He's got to be handsome. He's got to be alpha. He's got to be funny. He's got to be good with children. He's got to like pets. He's got to be friendly with my mom. Like, it just keeps going right down the list. So, that demand that they have of men, I think both men and women want the other side to be more than what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And, one of the things, like one of the big asks that women have of men is they want his full commitment, including sexual exclusivity. And, like we said earlier, I think that those things can be separated, but women really struggle with understanding that because for them, stepping out on a relationship usually means the relationship's over. Mm-hmm. That's when women usually cheat on their husbands, when they're done and they start banging the guy from work or something like that. It's not often that women, and I looked when I was doing the research in this book, it's not often in history that I could find where women were running harems of men. They just don't. I mean, they would usually follow a pattern of promiscuity and maybe cheat on the husbands and go to the next guy and cheat on that guy and go to the next guy sort of thing, or take on a lover while they stay married for the optics of the marriage. But throughout history, the most successful, wealthiest, influential men have always had multiple women in their lives, whether it was multiple wives and concubines, multiple wives, concubines, harems, children with many of them. It's far more common for men to want to live that sort of lifestyle. And I think that men being more honest about it and women at the same time sort of relaxing their standards, their strictures when it comes to sexual exclusivity, they'll find that they'll be in a much better position to get a top shelf man and keep him around. The key thing that guys need to understand is what really upsets women the most is when they're embarrassed. So you've got your main girl.
When the female is embarrassed.
Yeah, when your main woman, is embarrassed or she's shamed somehow, like you take a side piece on a vacation to a place that you've been with her, for example, or you give her the same treatment that this one got, or she starts seeing that financial resources are being diverted to this other girl. Mm-hmm. That's when they really start to get super upset about it. Because when men cheat, women will say, well, did you love her? But when women cheat on a guy, the first thing men ask is what? Did you fuck him?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what they're concerned with, because we don't have the assurance of paternity, right? Like when men and women have sex and a woman gets pregnant, she knows she's the mother. The man doesn't always know that he's the father, right? So that's why our brain goes right away to like, did you guys bang? Whereas for her, she doesn't want to lose resources, provisioning, any of those things. So she's more concerned with, did you fall in love with that woman? Because she knows when you fall in love with her, that's when things can get dangerous for her.
Yeah. I feel like there's this information women don't fully understand.
I don't think they ever will either.
It's hard to get them to understand and to accept it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they understand that if they do, their life is going to be a lot easier. And they're going to actually figure out, I think, mostly how to keep a man.
Well, that would be the way to keep a man around, right? Again, is if a woman relaxes her strictures around sexual monogamy, she will find that a guy will probably be more than likely to want to stay with her than to do nefarious things on the side, right? Like they don't understand that component. And I think women at a certain age, maybe, when they realize that they're not as competitive on the sexual marketplace, their looks have started to deteriorate. Maybe they're in their 40s or 50s or getting something close to that. That's when they start to understand the true nature of men. But until then, I could say it's odd to me, but I've gotten used to it now. But most women will demand the full package from a guy. And again, the funny thing is when you give them the full package, they often punish you, right? Like how many women have you been with that you gave her the full package? Like Mike Thurston's tall, handsome, successful, good looking, good shape and all that sort of stuff. You make money, obviously. People watch your stuff. You give them that whole package and you commit to them. And at some point they end up punishing you.
Yeah.
So I think listening to women and giving into their demands is a really bad strategy for men to follow. And, a lot of this that I'm saying right now is going to come on your audience and going to say, well, this guy, Rich Cooper, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He needs Jesus or something like that. But prove me wrong. Like, where's your argument? Like, tell me what doesn't work. What is your better solution? Because I think I've found it.
Yeah. Well, I think that there definitely needs to be people like you talking about this. And it is just the harsh reality, which a lot of people don't really want to face and discuss. But there sometimes can be the problem where lost young men who have had bad experiences with women tend to just build up this hate and anger towards women.
Yeah, that's not a good
And then
look.
they go too far to one side, and that's not where I want.
No, it's not healthy. I mean, men and women are designed to be together. We're better together than we are separated. Mm-hmm. I think that women that find ways to infuse themselves into men's lives. Like a very good example of this, you probably saw that tweet or maybe heard about it with Brian Johnson, that biohack bro with that new girlfriend, Kate, that works with him. He made that big public announcement about, hey guys, I have a girlfriend.
Was it a poem or something?
Almost. Yeah. I read it through, and about a third of the way through, I started to realize this girl, Kate's smart. Like, she actually targeted this guy. He's successful. He's good looking. He's got his life together. He's a bit of a simp, for being honest, with that whole announcement and, the way that he sort of manages the relationship. But women would be wise to follow that targeting pattern if they want to be with a top shelf guy. The problem is, I think if Brian Johnson, continues on the same path of making these public announcements, oh, I miss her, she hasn't been around for 2 weeks, I love her so much. And then you click on her profile and you look to see if she's made it. It's crickets. She doesn't say anything. She might like it or make a comment like, I miss you too, baby, but that's it. And guys like that need to understand that, again, he's the kind of guy that's Mormon. I think his wife was his first. Then he had a girlfriend after that who sued him for $9 million for
the cancer thing.
Yeah, that. And then this is his third. So he doesn't really know how to navigate women. I mean, he knows how to navigate life and make money and run businesses and sell them and manage his health. But the most important component of a man's life that you don't want to screw up. Could you imagine how his health would suffer if they were to break up, which is going to be imminent, the way that he's behaving?
It's quite clear that he's very much in love.
Yeah, and he likes her more than she likes him.
Announcing it to the world. I've been there before. When you fall in love, it's like the best feeling, and you're on top of the world.
Yeah,
and you want to let everybody know.
Yeah,
but it's a dangerous game to play, because if you go too far and you're doing all this thing in public, she might think it's cute to begin with, but then she might be turned off by it.
Yeah.
And then when this is all public and then maybe it doesn't work out, then everybody's like, oh, what happened?
Yeah. And
then he's going to be reminded of it every day when people are asking, like, where is she? What's going on?
And that's the trajectory that these things, often go in, because the management of that relationship over the long term is where guys screw up. Mm-hmm. Good-looking, successful guys have no trouble attracting women. Mm-hmm. It's the retention part. And then beyond the retention part, you also have the risk profile too, because if you're a successful guy that makes money and you invite a woman into your life and it doesn't work out, and you're married, you're living in a way that looks like marriage to the government where you live, she's entitled to maintain her lifestyle, whether you like it or not. Mm-hmm. The courts will enforce the lifestyle that she has right now together with you on her if you break up. Financially, if you have children, this sort of thing. The courts never enforce her obligations onto him if you break up. She doesn't have to love him after the breakup. She doesn't have to have sex with him after the breakup, but he still has to financially take care of a woman if they break up. So guys have to be mindful of this when they invite a woman into their life and how they're going to manage it. And some people have a lot of money, and to them it's not a big deal, and they deal with a heartbreak, and maybe they'll make a few social media posts about the nonsense. But men would be wise to really take a very thoughtful approach to managing women over the long term and doing it in a way that's good for them and the relationship. And I'm not saying cheat on women. I'm not saying, treat women poorly. I don't want the audience watching right now to get that wrong. Mm. I treat women very, very well, but I also don't put up with bullshit either.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, getting women is obviously not an issue. The first 6 months of a relationship is usually very easy most of the time, because it's the honeymoon phase. You're seeing the best of each other. But I think this will probably come in handy. It's the long term, the maintenance and managing that.
Yeah, the maintenance phase of it is where most guys make the most mistakes, and it's also the most problematic financially as well too.
So what was your experience getting married then? Like, first of all, why did you decide to get married?
Well, I was told it was the right thing to do. I was dating a very successful lawyer. She was very attractive. It was that point in life where in your 30s, you see your friends settling down, they're having kids, buying houses, building houses together. Figured, why not? Mm-hmm. This is what we've been told to do our entire lives. Obviously didn't work out. I realized after, the nuptials and the I do's that the fit wasn't there. It's a conversation.
How soon into that? Like, did it literally change as soon as the...
No, I mean, you kind of, what's going on. It's just you tend to look the other way a lot of times, or maybe you tell yourself or people tell you things will improve. Just stick it through. Because men are disposable. We've been trained our entire lives to be disposable, to be punching bags, and women are protected and men are disposable. And that's fine. That's just how things are. I mean, when the Titanic goes down, that's why the women and children get the lifeboats and all the guys drown, sort of thing. That's just how we're wired. So you kind of have to accept that. But I mean, like you realize that people get hired generally for the resume, and then they get fired because of fit. And I think when you recognize that the fit isn't there and that it's just not going to work, you have to make a decision. You know, do you want to see this through, or do you want to leave and cut your losses? And I was of the camp of cutting the losses. You know, my daughter was still young. We have a great parenting relationship now. She's a great kid, gets on very well with both of us. The parenting's fine, but it's not easy from the get-go. And it's unfortunate because like the family court system in most Western countries really does punish fathers and men when it comes to the untying of the knot. If you want to talk about difficulties in life offline, we can have a conversation about divorcing a lawyer. We won't do this publicly, but it's like, you know, divorce isn't fun, but you know, it's one of those experiences in life, you know, as we were talking about earlier, you know, if it doesn't kill you, it just makes you stronger. You know, scars are just proofs that you were stronger than whatever tried to kill you.
Yeah. So, I mean, from everything that you've experienced and learned, when would you say marriage is a good idea?
I can't think of any situation where marriage would be a good idea at this point in time in a Western country. There
still happens though. Like I think because of my age, and I'm obviously following a lot of my friends on social media.
Yeah,
still the proposals are happening, the weddings happening. I'm like, okay, so this is
it's ingrained into the fabric of society, isn't it? I mean, you know, the funny thing is when you look into marriages, you know, there's a couple of interesting books put out on this, but the origin of marriage was not about love or children or living together. It was about the acquisition of in-laws. It was about, you know, my brother's a farmer, my other brother's a teacher, he's in law enforcement, my dad's got these skills, my mom has these skills, her family has this, they've got some land too. So it was about the blending of the families, you know, it was about the acquisition of in-laws. That's why when you look at, you know, historical records, you know, you see a lot of the highborn trying to marry, you know, highborn, and, you know, that's what you get with a lowborn sort of status. So that was the origin of it. And if it didn't work out back in those days, the father or the man would often just leave with everything and the children too, by the way. And she would go back to her father and, you know, be looked after there or try to, you know, move on to the next guy if she was capable of that. Sometimes she'd go and, you know, work in a brothel. But, you know, back to the question of, is marriage a good idea? I just don't think anything that looks like marriage in a hostile Western country that hates fathers, where family law is not fair and balanced. Yeah. Like, to give you an idea, everything within family law that you look at today is written in the mom's favor, the female's favor. She can make false domestic violence accusations, have you thrown out of your own house, have the locks changed. You then lose control of the sale of the house when the house will sell. She now has custody of the kids more often. Now, all of a sudden, you need to get somebody else's permission to see your own kids, your own lineage, your own DNA. You have to get somebody else's permission to go and see your own kids. And most guys find themselves in a situation where they see their wealth robbed from them while she's using it to alienate him from his own children. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom when I say all that, but that is the common experience of most men today. It doesn't always go that way, but that's a common experience because, again, women are hypergamous. What does that mean? They marry and date across on the socioeconomic scale. So they're often marrying better men, more successful, wealthier men. Yeah. And, you know, the outcome of that is the courts will enforce that lifestyle on him after they break up. And it's no fault. You know, she can break up for any reason she wants. So, you know, one of the most common things that ends up happening is when one of her girlfriends starts the divorce process, it's like a cancer. It tends to spread. When you start talking to guys that are older, that have gone through the divorce grinder, one of the things that I've noticed when I asked them the question, what do you think the catalyst was to your marriage ending? And he said, well, her friends started getting divorced. Right. And it's like, you know, birds of a feather flock together. You sort of cook up this idea after some wine and, you know, sitting around cackling that it would be smart for them just to,
you know. I've noticed that even in relationships that I've been in, where all of a sudden my partner would just start talking about some things that she would want, additional things she would want from me. Maybe like even the discussion of having kids and things like that. I'm like, where is this coming from? Like you were pretty chill before. Now there's all these topics coming out of nowhere. And I realized that she's been having conversations with her friends and they're all trying to, you know, say how they're all.
Well, it's the hive mindset. Like women tend to work on a council type of mentality, right? A lot of decisions that are made with women in a relationship aren't made between him and her. Yeah. They're often made between her and her girlfriends, her and her mom, her and her sisters. So you want to be mindful of the kind of company that she keeps and what their values are and how they navigate life.
Yeah.
Because she will operate with the same operating system as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes both ways. I mean, it's fair enough for them to also have the same observations for men because, back in the day, I'd have a group of friends. We were just all single party boys and we'd go out and we'd party quite a lot.
Yeah.
So if I was embarking on a new relationship and she would make this observation, she'd be like, I'm a little bit concerned that you are just hanging out with single guys and you're going out quite a bit, which was fair enough.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if we are going out, we're getting attention. There's the potential for, me stepping out of line. So she had all the right to be concerned.
But isn't that interesting, though? Because the fact that you're out with your mates and you're having a good time and you're getting attention, that made you more attractive to her. Mm-hmm. Now, just notice what she did there. She wanted to restrict, limit, delay, maybe stop that particular avenue for you. Mm-hmm. And that would have made you less attractive to her. Guys often find that women tend to try to separate them from their mates, from their activities, from their fun. And then when they give that all up, when they give her what she wants, when they try to make her happy because they love her, and why wouldn't they, that her attraction for him starts to wander down.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, again, the very things that you're doing that she may want you to stop doing can actually be good for her and the cohesion of the long-term relationship. It's one of those things that you have to figure out how to manage. I mean, if you're going out all the time and you're spending almost no time with her, she'll probably get fed up at some point and step out on you or leave or end the relationship. So it's like, you can't be on each other's feet all the time. You have to find some time to some time to yourselves. And I think that's where that chapter in my book about the 3 idiots, proximity, familiarity, and exclusivity, you have to figure out ways to manage those if you want to have a good experience over the long haul.
I think particularly for a lot of the people who are listening to this, I would imagine it's mostly guys who are working on themselves. They either want to start a business or they're running their own businesses. Time is so valuable, and they want to put as much of their time and effort into, developing themselves and progressing with their career, but they don't want to be doing it all alone. Mm-hmm. They do want to have female company.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to have a relationship, but they're going to struggle to have a relationship with somebody who is going to be very demanding of their time and attention. So how do these guys try and navigate the dating world when they're just extremely busy?
You just carry on doing what you're doing and you make a little bit of time for her. But when she starts making demands for more of your time, I mean, you've only got so many waking hours in the day where you're going to work. Mm-hmm. And then when she starts trying to, hey, it's little Billy's, birthday this weekend. It's going to be a 6-hour event. Can we go to that? Like, are you going to come with me, sort of thing? If you have priorities in your calendar that are more important, that are aligned with your purpose, you should stay on that purpose and just say, babe, I love you, have a good time. I'll see you when you get back, sort of thing. But quite often, again, men will do these things to appease her, to make her happy because they love the woman. And why wouldn't they, when you fall in love with a woman? Of course, hang out with your family. Of course, they'll go and do that thing. Let's go to the Wolfstock event where all the doggies are dressed up in sweaters and shoes and sort of thing and walk around together because they want to do couple things. And you're going to have to do some of those, right? Like, there's going to have to be some give in that area, but I think it's a lot less give than what guys are giving right now, right? I mean, if you're serious about your purpose, if you're serious about your business, if you're serious about chasing excellence, not women, you have to maintain that to a degree.
Yeah, that makes sense. What did you make, just touching on marriage again, the whole Ronaldo getting married?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I actually tweeted about that, early in the year because it seemed like he was a smart guy that sort of figured it out.
Yeah, and then he just did it. It's like, well,
I mean,
was he getting pressured into that?
Probably, but I mean, I suspect that he's probably got his life structured in a way, or he at least thinks that he structured his finances in life in such a way that if it ever didn't work out, the cost of untying that knot would be minimal. I mean, he's essentially married anyway. He's got a bunch of kids with her. He's living in a way that looks like marriage, to the public anyway. Women just want the official ceremony. They want the ring. They want the statement. So, maybe it's one of those things like, babe, we've been together forever. You've looked the other way a few times when I've had some fun on the side. She just did it maybe like as a way to reward her or keep her around. Yeah. But I think he's like a naturally sort of like unplugged sort of man that gets it. So, without sitting down with him and having a real conversation, man to man, it's difficult to understand that one.
Yeah. All right, guys, quick pause here. I've got a question for you. Are you in shape? Are you not in shape? Is there work to do? Most likely. If so, I have the tool for you, which is going to help you out massively. It's the Thirst app. This is something which I personally use myself when it comes to my training and my nutrition. I have all the programs in there which I use on a regular basis. And for those who are just looking to lose a bit of body fat, the same thing goes for women as well. A lot of people don't realize that I used to coach for a large chunk of my life. So all of my coaching experience has been put inside of this app. I want you to learn as much as possible about how to get yourself in shape. There's exclusive videos in there telling you how to do it, how to execute exercises properly, the foods which I eat, and a newly added nutrition section where you can track your meals and your daily macros. It is pretty much this pocket-sized version of myself, which you can carry around with you all day, every day. So if there's something which might interest you, which it definitely will do, I highly suggest check out links in the description. Head over to the Thirst app, get it downloaded. You will not regret it. Now let's crack on with the episode. Do you think in general, when it comes to relationships, you should keep them private? Or
Generally.
It should be something that you share online from time to time? Because from my experience,
That's a great question.
there's two types of women. There's some who just, they want to be off the grid. They hate social media.
Yeah.
They don't even like to post anything.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah.
It's very different to my life. Obviously, I pick and choose what I'd like to talk about. But to be with someone who's doing the complete opposite is nice sometimes.
Yeah.
Then there's also someone that I could date who's very similar. Like maybe their job involves social media. They have a big following. Literally everything they're doing, they're documenting. So when it comes to them being in a relationship, that's something they want to share with the world.
Yeah.
And then maybe, you know, if they're particularly happy with the person that they're with, they want to show it off.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on the success of a relationship if it's public versus keeping it behind closed doors?
I mean, that's a really interesting question. I think it depends on your plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
There are like these social media power couples that do that, and they share their entire personal life publicly on the internet. And I think if you started from that point, you have to continue on that point. My angle is, because I mean, I'm more like, I've got a little bit of a public audience. They see me, like I get recognized, you know, when I go places, especially in North America. I would never share a woman that I've given my commitment to or anything close to that publicly, because it's an attack vector.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
someone really wants to get to you.
Yeah, well,
they can make your life hell.
Well, that's how they tend to get to you. You know, we saw it with the Tates, right?
Yeah.
You know, it was women, like right away, like that was the attack vector. So I think that a man would be wise in most cases to keep his personal relationships personal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why would you want the woman that you love showcased to the world to see?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. You know, I was at Address Sky Pool here in Dubai, you know, with the view of the Burj, and, you know, you have the infinity pool. And I lost count of the amount of men that were taking photographs of their girl at the edge of the infinity pool wearing literally nothing. In some cases, she would pop her bum out of the top, pull up the thong, and, you know, just get the most obnoxious photograph. And he's sitting there documenting the whole thing.
Let me just pimp you out.
Yeah.
The world, yeah.
Now, okay, maybe he was their OnlyFans manager. I don't know, but they didn't look like that. They look like the plugged-in beta male, like the fat guy that's just, okay, babe, whatever. And some of these girls are there with like wardrobe changes, 3 different bathing suits all day long from different shots, different sun angles. And it's like, these guys have no idea that their girl posting this on social media publicly is going to be soliciting the attention of guys, most of them dorks, but of guys that are in some cases substantial.
Mm-hmm.
And you're essentially promoting her so that she can go out and chase the next upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. Again, women are hypergamous. They want to be with a better man. So if you're not it at some point and your photography work or your video work is that good that the next guy slides in and she decides to move on to that, you've got nobody to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
I think that if you're in a long-term relationship with a chick, she should have no access to social media, or if she's using it, it's just absolutely private. You know, like she just has private photographs for her family events, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing beyond that, because a woman that's in that has asked a man, has said, look, you know, where are we going? I don't want to share you. You know, I want to build a life with you. Like I want to have a family sort of thing. When a woman gets to that point and she starts saying things like that, I think that's when you have to examine her and say, well, you know, I dig your vibe too, but I really can't take a woman seriously that's posting provocative photographs on social media. And that's where you can put your foot down. Like that's the opportunity to do that when she starts leaning into you and asking you for more.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you might say that, and a lot of women would take offense to that. It's like, what? You don't
you're
want to
controlling
post anything on social media. But it comes down to the type of photo that they're posting.
Sure.
Like, you can definitely take pictures, nice background, but do it in an elegant way.
Correct.
And cover up.
Yeah.
And like, it's you can still look beautiful and sexy, but like in just a much more of an elegant way.
Correct.
Compared to if you just bent over and you've got your tits out.
Yeah.
So that's something which I think I've started to notice now. If all I would have to do is just take a look at the previous pictures which they've been uploading.
Yeah.
Like, if they've already been doing that,
it's
going to be very hard for you to try and tell them, okay, like, stop doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if a woman truly loves a man, she would do it. But the vast majority of women today, I think, would choose a path of, what's wrong with you, Mike? Why are you insecure?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, a real man would, and then ... Basically, whenever a guy hears a real man would, she's trying to use a shaming tactic to manipulate your behavior so that it benefits her.
Yeah.
Right. So this is, again, a place where men should be putting their foot down.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of most women today, right? Like, most attractive women like the social media attention. And why wouldn't they? That's how they're hardwired. The more provocative the photography, the more salacious the photography, the more attention they get.
Yeah.
That's why fathers would be wise to try to limit the amount of social media activity their daughters have. And they should, at the same time, try to focus their sons on creating value, because that's where men get the best out of life that they want. Men's best optionality in life will come from being as handsome as they can possibly be and being as valuable as they can possibly be. The problem is a lot of men squander that away. There's lots of handsome men that are valuable that will just simp for women. Right?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed as well that sometimes it can be it's a blessing and a curse, because sometimes if you have been, this goes for women as well, if you've been blessed with looking great, especially for a woman at a young age, you don't need to do anything.
Yeah,
the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
For a guy as well, like, obviously it will improve your chances of getting women, but then you can become too complacent on purely just the way you look, so that you don't develop these other skills that are also going to help you in life and help you create a decent career and make money for yourself.
Yeah. It takes a while for guys to reach their stride.
And then later on, they're like, "Oh shit! Like, I'm fucking broke.
Yeah,
I'm still like, maybe I'm a good looking guy, but like, I have no money."
Yeah.
Whereas like the other guys who maybe didn't have the looks or the genetics, they worked their ass off, because they're like, "Look, I can't rely on this, so I need to start getting my money up."
Yeah.
And then they're the ones that end up winning in the end, because they're just so financially secure and stable.
Correct.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what do you think the main things that can help a guy, particularly a young guy in their 20s, that will help them when it comes to dating and actually getting women?
In your 20s as a guy, women will have more patience for you if you're not rich. It's fine. Women don't have a lot of patience for a 40-year-old broke guy that's handsome. If you're broke in 20, no problem. She'll date you, she'll sleep with you enthusiastically. So as you're in your 20s, sort of moving into your 30s and so on, your focus needs to be on creating value for yourself, right? Creating renown, doing things of influence, become captivating. And of course, learn the notion of how to deal with women, how to game them, if you can, quote unquote, use that from the pickup artist community. But you have to know how women respond to certain things and then manage that as you sort of navigate life. But the priority should always be chase excellence, not women, right? I'm not saying disengage from women, don't deal with women. That's where I often get misquoted. When I say chase excellence, not women, I mean, yes, find your purpose, make that the focus. Don't let women distract it from you, but indulge, make sure that you understand women, because that's why we're here. At some point, most guys will eventually try to settle down, or they get fed up with the playboy lifestyle or having too much fun, and they think about family and having kids and stuff like that. And you have to know what you're dealing with, because you're really playing with fire when it comes to chicks.
Yeah. And there's definitely certain regions in the world where dating is a lot more difficult. Like
I could see it being hard here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here, I get asked this question a lot. I think the dating scene is great. Like, you will have endless options and you can have a lot of fun. It is literally like a playground for adults. But doing the long-term thing and being in a committed relationship thing, I think that requires more work.
It is.
It's harder to do here.
Yeah.
Just because of, especially if you're a successful guy, the sheer amount of temptation that you get. And it does not slow down because, if you're in your mid-30s, usually if you're working hard, you're on a trajectory where your career, social status money is just, you're getting more and more of it.
Yeah. And, like the temptation is always going to exist, right? Whether you act on it or not is up to you. But I think that she has to have the perception that optionality is there, whether you're utilizing it or not, right?
And the same thing goes for if you have found a woman who's also very attractive and ticks a lot of the boxes, then she is also going to have a lot of options as well. So you, as the man, have to really be on top of his game, because there's going to be other successful guys out there who could very easily swoop her off her feet if you don't step up.
Yeah, I mean, you typically end up being slightly more valuable than she is on like a scale. Like if she's a 7, you're probably going to be a 8 or a 9 or a 10 sort of thing. That's typically how it works. Guys tend to date down on the attractive sort of area. Not always, but that's when women are happiest.
They get less drama and headache.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys would want to, they have the idea of, well, I want to go for a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them will be surprised at what comes with that.
I mean, I'd rather have a pleasant 7 than a bitchy 10 all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something you need to be aware of. In terms of red flags in women, what are some of the main things which men need to be a little bit cautious about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've got an entire chapter in my first book on 21 red flags. The second book, I added 16 green flags because a lot of guys were like, I love the red flags, but I want something more positive, Rich. Can you give me something? So I put 16 green flags in that book. But red flags, typically things like daddy issues, feminist type of behaviorism, mannerisms, high notch counts, boss girls, women that compete with you. What do you want to talk about?
The daddy issues one is interesting because if a woman has daddy issues, but she ticks all the other boxes, is that something that you can navigate through, or is it
potentially? Yeah. I mean, like, it really all depends on what you want to tolerate and manage. Like I've seen guys that have women that will just latch their meat hooks into them because they've got like anxiety issues around you. And some guys like that. They like a chick that's got like daddy issues or is really attached to them. I find that annoying after a while, or even if it becomes pleasant for a little bit. But for the most part, women that don't have a good relationship with their father, they don't typically value men. If they grew up in a single mother household, they were probably told that men ain't shit. You can't rely on a man. You have to go out there and make a name for yourself and do what it is that you want to do, girl. So they don't typically value men and the value that men bring to the table. They're more of maybe he's an accessory. Let's see what I can leverage out of this guy, out of the relationship. They don't see the value in the masculinity. And I don't have time for women that don't value masculinity, that don't value men. I want a woman that likes her father, that has a good relationship with her father, that respects men, that wants to hear his opinion, that when she's led, she'll follow, sort of thing. And I think women are naturally built for that. I mean, that's why, throughout history, fathers would give away their daughters to the husband, sort of thing. It's like, okay, now it's your responsibility, sort of thing. So I think it's a definite green flag when you meet a woman that has a good relationship with her father. It just always goes better.
It's going to be interesting where this goes and what the future holds, because I feel like there's more and more kids and children that are being raised in single parent
43%, in North America.
So what the fuck does that mean for future relationships?
Yeah, and single moms raise boss girls, and they also raise like weak beta males too, right? You see this all the time on social media. I saw this the other day. I was showing my friend Gare. Mom couldn't afford a car, so son sold his Xbox and mowed lawns for 3 months to buy her a car. And it's like, this 11-year-old kid has been conditioned from a young age to completely sacrifice anything that's important to him just to make his mom happy. And I think women sort of make these like husband sons, where they kind of train their sons to become agreeable, softer, become less, so women can become more, feminist allies, sort of thing.
I've got a friend.
Yeah. And I've never seen a woman that's like, that wakes up in the morning or, will say something like, I just want a weak pussified male that I can run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they want to be with a giant. They want to be with a guy that says no. They want to be with a guy that's able to lead them. That's what most women want.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear women say, I want a partner. And that's a word that bothers me, because I often tell people now, it's like, is it husband? Is it wife? Is it boyfriend? Is it girlfriend? You're not partners. You're not equal. You're not running a law firm. You're not gay. Let's be honest here and use the correct definitive terms, right? And I think a lot of this washing, this like, let's make everything blended and even and equal are one of the great disservices of society. Again, men and women are not the same. Very, very different, but we have complementary skills if we allow ourselves to resign to those positions and places. Even when you look in egalitarian societies like in Norway or Sweden, men tend to resign themselves to engineering roles and things like that, and women tend to resign themselves to roles in society like daycare and nursing. So even in societies like that, where they try to force more equalism on everybody, men and women are going to do what they're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
So why are we playing games and lying to each other about that sort of stuff?
Yeah. All right. Since there's obviously a lot of red flags, which is in the previous book, which is probably the most underrated and overlooked.
The one that I get criticized the most for is tattoos. I find women that have sat in a chair for hours and days on end, drawing on their body with little tattoos. It's kind of a masculine behavior. I think, traditionally it was more of a masculine behavior. When I was young, there was almost no women with tattoos. Now, in many places, especially in the West, it's very rare to see women without tattoos. In fact, more women have tattoos today than men do. It's almost like they're warning you that, hey, I'm a problem, sort of thing. Like, it's like, the trauma. And it's always the same sort of like tattoos. There's no newness. It's always a butterfly or angel wings or something like that. And it's like, the notion about this, and I made a video about this the other day, because I was thinking, like, why do women always take photographs in front of angel wings? Why do they like butterflies so much? And it dawned on me, angel wings, butterfly, butterflies arise from the cocoon after being a caterpillar. It's a new start. So I think a lot of the times, women will, because of their traumas in life and, the things they go through, it's like, well, we have to put a tattoo with that and put one over here. That'll look pretty. Oh, Becky got one. I have to get one as well, sort of thing. So I think a woman without tattoos that hasn't marked her body like that, to me, it's like chef's kiss. It's, it's a Lamborghini without bumper stickers on it. I think a lot of women today, they go and ruin something of beauty by covering it with bumper stickers. It's like putting bumper stickers on a Lambo. You just don't do it. It's a beautiful thing on its own.
Well, I would have to agree with you on that one. It's not always the case.
Not always the case, no. But more often than not, it's like tattoos, problems. It's usually, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to green flags.
Yeah.
Some of the most overlooked green flags.
I think a couple of them would be, you want a woman so when you get sick, that's a really good test. Of a woman. Does she look after you? Does she find ways to embed herself into your life? Let me cook for you. Let me take care of your laundry. Oh, you need something picked up? No problem. You want a woman that looks for ways that where she's going to look after you. Because I mean, they're nurturing anyway, by nature, right? Like they want to take care of you. So I think that's one of them. I think the other one that is often overlooked is you want a woman that finds ways to be useful in your life and looks for ways to form connections with your family, right? A lot of the times we hear about girlfriends' wives and then our mothers having issues, like she hates her or she doesn't want her to do something in your house or why is she stepping on her feet sort of thing. I think a good woman will find ways of not trying to separate you from family, but to become part of your family and to be useful in your family's life.
Yeah, that would make sense. I actually had an experience last week where I got really sick, and without even asking for any help or assistance, like she was there.
That's a great test.
And I was almost like, look, you really don't need to be here because I'm in a foul mood and I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
And she came and she was really nice.
Great test. Yeah.
Yeah. So if a guy is looking for a destination or a place where they're going to improve their chances of finding a good quality woman. From your experience, is there any particular region or area or culture where they're going to find the best quality women? Or can they be found everywhere, but you just got to look harder?
Well, let's define best quality first.
Okay. Quality, good values, lots of green flags, not so many red flags, not necessarily chasing, that boss girl mentality. wanting to just work all the time and actually have this desire to be a mother and a good partner?
Yeah, you're talking about less than 2% of women, probably. She's probably not going to be in the West in an urban coastal city. She's probably going to be living with her parents, very low to no notch count, listens to her father, has a good relationship with her family, maybe religious. I don't think you're going to be hard pressed to find a quote unquote good quality woman the way that you described it. That's over 30 years old. She's going to be younger. She's not going to have baggage. She's not going to therapy for some nonsense that she never deals with and complains about all day. She's just a younger, more youthful version of what you see today. I mean, a lot of women today, 30, 40 years old, they'll try to pass themselves off as being more pure, more valuable than what they actually are. And, there's never been a guy in history, I would imagine, that's ever said, I wish my wife had fucked 50 more guys before I had, married her, sort of thing. Yeah. So I think if that's what you're looking for, you've got to find somebody younger that doesn't have baggage, that likes her father, that wants to be with a good man, that'll also put up with the shit that you're going to do too, because guys on the top shelf will have boundaries, and you may do things that she doesn't like, and she's going to have to be okay with you doing things that you don't like. I mean, as long as you take care of her, as long as you look after her, you entertain her a little bit, give her some degree of some of the things that she wants within reason, there should be no reason for her to leave. And I think that women putting up with more of men's boundaries, women would be wise to do that more often than not, because that's why they find themselves in their 30s trying to get right. They haven't found anything yet. They've had their fun, but they've been through a whole bunch of guys, at that point. And it's like, what they're doing doesn't work, right? And they keep leaving guys either because guys are ghosting them, or they're breaking up with them because they're not good enough based on their standards. And each time they do that, women have a much lower capacity to pair bond to that guy, to put up with stuff. I mean, if you think about it, if a woman's been through 41 guys and gets married and things don't go well in that marriage, and she's already broken up 41 times, what's the big deal with 42?
Yeah.
Versus a chaste virgin that you meet at 21 from some remote Russian village who, her father hands over to you. She'll probably stick around. She'll probably put up with, like more of your shit, right?
This is something which is an interesting observation for me. Like, if I do date younger, early 20s, a lot less baggage, tends to be more pure and just, I don't know, there's this life in them.
Well, there's a light in their eyes. Yeah.
But the only issue is because they're much younger, there's kind of this limit to how deep you can go in terms of a conversation, because they're just young and they haven't really experienced much of life. So
yeah, and I think that's
like you're kind of showing them the world.
Yeah, you want that. Like, you want to be the first one to be showing them the world. I don't want a chick to get in my Porsche and be like, oh yeah, my ex-boyfriend had this car.
Yeah, right? And knows how the handles work.
Yeah, like I want a girl to get in the car. It's like, how do you get out of this car? I've never been in a Porsche before. This is really nice, right? Yeah. Like, you want to be her first, sort of thing. But I mean, like, when you talk about the notion of like deeper conversations, I think that's where guys go wrong. I don't think that you should expect to have exceptionally deep conversations, with women. I think that you can do that with your boys.
Yeah.
Right. I think that women are not programmed to be that part of your life. I mean, if you think about it, thousands of years ago, we would go out hunting for mastodon and saber-toothed tiger and probably sit there side by side in the bushes with our spears and bows and arrow, whispering away, talking about life. And then we'd come back to the village and bring home the food and feed everybody. And, they would pat us on the back and have sex with our women, sort of thing, and make more babies and then go out and do it again. I don't think you would sit around with the women and, talk about, well, what's the strategy for our next conquest? Which, part of the forest should we go in? Which village should we destroy next? Whose resources should we take? I don't think that that's the way that men and women are built together. Yeah. Like I said, we're not the same. And I think that it's a great disservice when men expect women to be more than what they're capable of. And I think it's the same thing for women. I think women screw up when they ask men to become more than what we are capable of.
Yeah. What I do like is if I find somebody who has, maybe it's a skill or an interest, or they do something that I have absolutely no idea about and is completely foreign to me. So I feel like we can have a conversation and I can learn something from them. Or maybe they're because I don't feel like I'm a very emotional person. Like I just keep it all bottled in.
Yeah.
That's how I've always done it. So sometimes if we have a conversation and I feel like they can bring something out of me that hasn't been brought out before, that can be quite nice.
You know, women are lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
But you have to know what they're capable of on all areas of the spectrum, you know, the nice things that they can do and also the things that they do to punish men as well, too. So understand that what you're dealing with is what it is. You know, the sun is hot, water is wet. You know, it is what it is. Just don't expect everything from them. You know, would be my guidance on that one.
Yeah. I think now my approach has just been, of course it's good to have high expectations, but usually if I have too high of expectations, I feel like I'll just get disappointed.
Sure. Yeah. It's a fair assessment.
So it sounds like depressing, but sometimes I'm like hoping for the best. There's an expectation for maybe not the worst, but there's an expectation that, you know, it's not going to go as smoothly and as perfectly as I want it to be.
Well, I mean, us as guys, we're used to women being difficult. You know, it's often hard to deal with, sometimes demanding. Women would be wise that are watching this right now to, again, find ways to embed themselves into our lives and be useful in our lives and surprise and delight us. You know, like that gal when you got sick the other day, you thought to yourself, just keep her at arm's length. I don't want you dealing with me. And she insisted on looking after you and doing things for you. And I'm sure at the end of that, you know, you thought to yourself, wow, you know, it's a pretty good chick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's how women can win over men. That's how they can hook us. Right? Because not a lot of women will do that. You know, they just, you know, they don't want to be bothered. What kind of a guy are you? Got a guy cold? You know, what's the matter with you? Or they'll mock you, sort of thing. It's like, you know, if she's mocking you when you're sick, she's done.
Yeah. You know what I say to like a lot of women, if they want to try and figure out men, they should be watching content that people like you are putting out there.
Unfortunately, they don't until they're too old.
Yeah. Like, because most women, they'll probably sit down and they watch something you put out.
Yeah.
Well, just tell you who else is good. Orion Taraban.
Taraban's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love his stuff.
Yeah.
Most women, if they sit down and watch that, they'll probably just be so offended and insulted.
Yeah.
And just feel like they would, I don't know, need to have an argument with you about whatever you've said.
Yeah.
And that's not really going to help them out in any way. They need to just sit down, digest it, and use that so that they can actually understand men a little bit more. As much as they might not want to hear some of the things which you're saying. You know, most of the time it works. I mean, most guys that watch your stuff, I'm assuming they're agreeing with you. Like, how much pushback or arguments are being had in the comment section?
I don't typically spend much time in the comments section, you know, if I'm being honest, but they will disagree or struggle. You know, it's like a jagged pill to try to swallow, you know, for a lot of guys, especially when their investments in life, like their ego investments in a certain protocol, just be a nice guy, you know, become less so she can become more. You know, when they ego invest into certain protocols, it's very difficult for them to sort of change that software programming. It's usually chaos that comes into our lives as men that force us to look for answers. And I think the cool thing about men that I really like is that men are problem solvers, genuinely, like from a genetic level. I find more so than women. So at some point when the chaos hits and it hits hard and it hits enough times in their life, they'll at some point, and this is what I did, go asking questions like, okay, this is consistently happening in my relationships. What am I doing wrong? And then you look at the guy in the mirror and you hold that guy accountable. And I think that's where the magic is for guys. And that's where they can level up. And that's where they can become the better version of themselves, is when they take that accountability and they deal with those uncomfortable conversations or something I may have said or something that's in one of my books that doesn't sit well. Go over it again, lean into it. Like there's some darkness there. Like, what is it that you're disagreeing with? And the challenge that I always leave people with that say, well, you're wrong. Okay, well, what's your better solution? Right? Like, you know, come at me with your better solution and let's see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen anything better.
Yeah. You know, in some of your recent videos, are you reacting to what other women have said on social media?
Yeah.
And then you're kind of reviewing what they're
Yeah, a lot of the times it seems to do well on YouTube is, you know, there's a statement by, you know, like made by a woman, and I can use that to sort of like, okay, you know, here's an example of this thing, and then I'll explain to you what she's doing, and now I'm going to offer you a prescription. One of the things that I like to do is at least offer a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier when you've got like a starting talking point, and there's so many TikTok reels and things out there of women just unloading their emotional damage on the internet, sitting in their car crying about something that's not going their way. And, you can certainly use it as a starting point, and then you explain that thinking that they use, and then you say to men, okay, well, this is your solution to this problem. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you've been in the game for so long, creating content, you must have covered almost everything.
Everything's been covered. Yeah.
So
I'm just hitting it from different angles. It's like I'm saying, here's this glass and let's photograph it from here. Let's photograph it from here. Let's look at it from here. So oftentimes you tend to cover a very similar topic over and over again.
But is there the same common themes or questions that keep cropping up, you find?
Yeah. I mean, like the same questions often come up, and you asked a few of them during the podcast, like where do you find a quality woman?
Yeah.
Things like that. And I think that you have to understand female nature. And when you understand what women are, oftentimes the definition of a quality woman doesn't really meet. It doesn't really exist, right? Like women are women, men are men, and, we're going to do what we're going to do anyway. But I think understanding that nature and what women typically respond to just makes things a lot easier for us.
Yeah. When it comes to having kids, maybe someone's thinking about having kids, is there a protocol that you need to have, or maybe a checklist ticked off before you do it, or just go for it?
I mean, it depends what you're don't go for it. Most guys will spend more time researching the fuel economy of their next car, what the trunk space is, how fast it goes 0 to 60 than vetting a woman. Most guys today, their vetting process is, well, she responded to my text and touches my pee-pee, so I'm going to marry her. Yeah. Honestly, it's like the bar is so low, it's pathetic. And that usually means that most women don't get their first choice, right? They end up with their third or fourth choice if they're lucky. So as far as children goes, I think that you have to decide, do you want to have, how many kids do you want to have? Do you want to have them with multiple women? Do you want to live in a way that looks like marriage? Is it a religious ceremony? Is religion important to you? Personally, if you want to have kids, I think it would be best to not marry any woman that brings the red flags that I talk about in my first book. Look for as many of the green flags I talk about in the second book. Spend a good 2-year vetting period getting to know her. See how she behaves when you travel, when the luggage gets lost. Does she have a meltdown? Does she start yelling at the clerk behind the counter? Is she entitled, bratty? How does she behave when you get sick? How does she deal with your family? Like a proper vetting period to really see what she's made of. And then even then, if you're going to get married, I mean, half the time it's going to end in divorce and you're going to lose your shit. So if you're going to get married and you're insistent on that, have a prenup in place, live in a way that minimizes the risk. So if you live in North America, for example, there's certain states where it's default 50-50 custody. Like in Kentucky, they passed a law recently where they made it default 50-50. So if you get divorced, there's no fighting over the kids. It's half time with both parents. And guess what happened to the divorce rate in Kentucky? Dropped like 25% because women were not incentivized to get divorced and keep custody of the kids. They figured, okay, well, I'm not going to get the money anymore. I'm not going to have control of the kids. So why get divorced? Yeah. Right. So I would look for opportunities and places where family law doesn't hate dads as well. But I think ideally, if you want to have kids, for guys like us, you're probably better off paying very close attention to all these things beyond everything that I've talked to, and probably not living with her.
Yeah.
Just, you could have a nice apartment like this and she lives on the next floor and you go visit her.
Which you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have authority over the relationship, you need to have responsibility for the relationship. Yeah. The problem today is men still have responsibility, but they have no authority.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've let that be taken away from them. And you need to reclaim that component of the relationship. And women actually want most guys to be the authority in the relationship. That's a red flag if she doesn't.
Yeah. I myself personally wouldn't be surprised if that happens for me, because this is like my apartment. I do a lot of my work here. I need to have complete concentration.
Yeah, you couldn't do this with children running around.
No. But of course, I would never expect my partner to be, oh yeah, well, you pay the rent for the other place.
Girlfriend or wife?
I don't want to say this because I want to keep my cards close to my chest, but I don't think I'm getting married.
I'm just correcting you on the word partner. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know anybody that's having kids with multiple women and it's actually working out for them?
Well, no. because I think that there's always an area, of improvement. And I've talked to a lot of guys now. I've talked to polygynous guys, I've talked to Muslim guys, I've talked to guys that don't subscribe to any organized religion that do it. Unfortunately,
is this something they've chosen to do?
Yeah, they have. Yeah. I mean, we could use the example of the Tate brothers because they're open about it anyway. Like, they've got multiple children with multiple women, and they don't live with them; they live with each other, and they're boys, sort of thing.
The women, the guys live together.
Yeah. And then there's guys that are polygynous that actually live with all their wives, but they've got wives and children together, and I've seen problems because either the government doesn't like that they're living with multiple women.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the women creates a problem for them. I think that whenever you deal with women and you invite them in your life and you invite more of them into your life, you really have to have like strong game.
Yeah.
And you also have to structure your life in such a way that any kind of damage that could come is mitigated substantially.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if I'm going to go and do 200 miles an hour in a car, I want a car that has airbags, seatbelt, 5-point harness, roll cage, and I'm wearing a helmet and a Hans device. I don't want to be in a 1950 Mustang, with like a lap belt.
Yeah.
And that's it, sort of thing. So, I mean, you kind of want to put some precautionary steps in place, which is unfortunate because this is the only time in history, really, that men had to consider things like this to have a whole bunch of children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a much longer conversation. We'd have to talk about that for several hours and probably privately.
Because imagine if a guy financially absolutely fine, better than fine, and he wants to have as many kids as possible. He wants to have like 10 kids.
Yeah.
That can be quite a burden to expect that from one woman.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to have that many children.
You want me to have 10 kids, maybe not even possible.
Yeah.
So for someone like that, their only option would be to have kids with multiple women. But from every way that I've tried to look at it, I'm not saying that's necessarily something I want, but it just seems like such a big headache that I don't think I got a game for that, to be honest.
Yeah. And you're Mike Thurston.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that it's impossible. It's just that you're always going to like invite some level of complexity in your life the more you deal with more women.
And then the kids as well. Like
then you've got the children, and then you've got...
How are they going to be brought up with...
How are you going to bring them up? Are they aligned with your goals? I think that if you're going to do it, the easiest path to follow would be Islam.
Mm-hmm.
I got very curious about Islam. I came here and I talked to a few guys about it and how they structure their life and their children, how they raise them, sort of thing. And I think that if there's guidance there in a certain religion and the women subscribe to it and they follow it to a T, and they're agreeable and they want to be led, by a guy, sort of thing. I think if you're going to use like a religious model, that would probably be the best one. So that might be an angle to sort of consider. But it's not easy, man. It's a much longer conversation, and some of the stuff that we talk about would have to be private too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully everybody else has. Make sure you check out the first book and this one, which is now available.
Yep, on Amazon.
Where can people find you?
Just go to richcooper.ca, or if you want to find me on the internet, just go to YouTube and search for Entrepreneurs in Cars. It's my main channel.
Nice. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks for having me, man.